welcome to another episode of AEW Unrestricted. I'm your host, Aubrey Edwards, here, as always, with Tony Schiavone.
It's Sting!
He said the thing he always does, and it seems like we have our guest, who's this? Sheamus in the studio, I think.
Thing is, I can't do
Are you making
impression.
the jump? Are you making the jump, Sheamus?
Am I making the jump? Yeah, why not? Why not? It's
Wow.
better.
You heard it here
better.
first. What a scoop.
It was a scoop.
How's it going? April Fools! I'm not really Aubrey Edwards.
Hey.
We had you going, though. He's not really Tony Schiavone. That's Patrick. And that's Jack, not Sheamus.
Hey!
We should
Just-
have real bits in it or so.
Just another ginger.
Just your average day, everyday ginger.
How's it going, just your average ginger?
Just your average ginger is good.
Did anyone get April Fooled today?
Yeah, straight away.
Did you?
Yeah, I obviously had work at 9, so I woke up 8:30, got dressed, had breakfast, had my first call of the day, and whilst on my call, unprofessionally scrolling through Facebook, and the first thing I saw on Facebook was a Birmingham Facebook page saying that that something in Birmingham was changing to Cadbury's. Going to be Cadbury sponsored and all this, and it basically, anyway, I believed it, and yeah, straight away got me literally at 9 o'clock. Yeah, disgraceful.
Right, what's April Fool's called in Germany, Patrick?
April Sharts.
Apple Sharts. That's
That's what it sounded to me.
that's what I get after drinking too much green Monster Energy.
No, I think I have to say April Scherz. Scherz is the
Apple
joke.
Sharts.
Apple shots.
With that, let's launch into our review of Dynamite. First up, we had Christian Cage in his debut versus Frankie Kazarian. I had goosebumps when Christian Cage came out. It was so good to see him back. 7 years. Doesn't feel like it. Doesn't feel like it's been 7 years. That's flown by. The fake crowd were bowing down to him, doing the bow down thing, which I think that's another thing that should be left to fans, I guess. But like, it feels a bit forced. But I don't know. They kind of went over their rivalry a bit more, him and Frankie Kazarian, how they faced each other in a tag match first and then had this big ladder match on TNA. Thoughts on this match, Jack?
Yeah, I was very impressed. So, me being, as I always say, the new representative wrestling fan in this podcast, the one that's I've not seen too much of Christian. I obviously know of Edge and Christian. You know, I've seen a couple of the tag matches, that sort of stuff. But I'm not obviously.
Just want to correct myself real quick. It's that it was his first singles match in 7 years, I believe.
There you go,
He may have
there
had a
you
tag
go.
match, but yeah. Keep
But yeah, so going into it, relatively new to Christian wrestling wise, and yeah, very very impressed. I was actually, it's weird to go into this sort of match, quite more impressed with Frankie Kazarian. I don't know why. I liked, so it seemed to me, and you guys disagree if you do, but it seemed more for me that Frankie Kazarian was on top, and I think it was more just to kind of showcase. Yeah, there we go. No disagreement there. So I was very impressed with Frankie Kazarian, but I liked the counters from Christian, and when he did counter the moves and stuff, and reverse, they looked good and looked impressive. And obviously, in the end, he got the win, which was, I think, the only way it was going to go. Which I thought was a bit harsh on Frank Kazarian. He looked the better one in the match, in my opinion. But for someone that's not had a singles match in 7 years, he didn't look like he hadn't had a singles match in 7 years. That's for sure.
no, he definitely didn't. I don't know what people expected. Whether they expected him to be like. I mean, he promised a lot. That's the thing. He said, "I've not missed a step. I'm just as good as I've ever been." I don't know if people expect him to be like give a 5-star match in his first match back in 7 years. But for someone who hasn't wrestled in 7 years, with that in mind, it was incredibly impressive. You wouldn't have known. Do you know what I mean? From watching it, I don't think it was a GOAT performance, but it was, you wouldn't have known he'd been out for 7 years. I'll just give you a rundown and then I'll come to Patrick. There was a "You Still Got It" chant very early on, which again, if that was, I don't know if that was crowd or fake crowd, but if that was fake crowd, that's, again, not a chant I really think they should be using. Christian took a huge bump. I don't know, it was off like a back, one of the, I don't know what you'd call it. Anyway, he got a lot of airtime and came down hard, seemingly unhurt. Some more Seven Nation Army chant abuse, I'm assuming started by Austin Gunn. I just assume now. Might have been Colton Gunn. It's definitely one of them.
I did see at one point, though, that a chant was started and Austin Gunn wasn't even there. So it's not just him. There's someone else that we don't know.
It's his fault, though, because he started this and now it's permeated. Like, it was, oh, let's go, Christian. No, they make go 2 syllables. It's like, right, I want to demonstrate how this chant is supposed to be used just once and for all.
Last time ever.
You take a sports person, in this case, a wrestler, with either a 3-2 or a 2-3 name in terms of syllables for their first and second name. Either 3 syllables for the first name and 2 for the second, or 2 for the first and 3 for the second. So in AEW's case, Christopher Daniels. And you go, oh, Christopher Daniels. You don't elongate syllables. Else, if not, it's find another chant. It's not an appropriate chant for this person, and that's okay. You don't have to. You don't have to make this chant everybody's chant. Fucking Austin Gunn. Okay. Frankie choked out Christian, and it looked like he was going to be out for a second there. But he got up, so he almost choked out Christian, really. Didn't choke him out. That would have been an anticlimactic match. Christian hit a nice swinging DDT, got him up for the corner punches. They kind of traded pin attempts, you know how, like, back and forth. Kazarian hit a crossface chicken wing, and Christian went for the... Kill Switch is called, isn't it? Because that move's had so many names: the Impaler, the Unprettier, the Kill Switch. I had to try and remember which it was. There was a nice backdrop counter to a reverse DDT from Christian. Christian went for a frog splash, missed. Frankie got the crossface chicken wing in again. Frankie was taunting him and kind of ate a near pin for it. And then hit a nice combo, finishing with his leg drop finisher, and then hit the flux capacitator. Now, I think by all wrestling logic, I mean, I don't think he should have been booked to win, just FYI. I don't think Frankie should have been booked to win. Booking Christian to win in his debut is the correct decision. But by all wrestling logic, Frankie should have won here. After he just hit 2 finishes, essentially, because they're selling that leg drop like a finisher after a combo. And then he hit the fucking flux capacitator, which is just his, like, you know, if Christian was to kick out of this, this was a pay-per-view kick out. This wasn't a Dynamite kick out. Do you know what I mean? So I'm a little bit of a bone to pick with that Frankie beat him way too hard for him to convincingly kick out for me. I think they could have toned that down a bit. Christian missed another kill switch, so he went and failed another kill switch. Then he did hit a frog splash, then missed his 3rd kill switch. Frankie got the crossface chicken wing in again, but it was reversed, and this time he did, on his 4th attempt, correctly hit the kill switch, successfully hit the kill switch for the win. This kind of felt like the battle of the crossface chicken wing and the kill switch, to be honest, throughout this match. Patrick, I will come to you with a question. In this match, would you say that Christian outworked everyone, as he has so promised?
Good question. Definitely not.
No, I don't think so either.
because Kaz was also super good. Like, they were really at the same level. Yeah. But he was a really good opponent to build up Christian again after, like, now 7 years. I got goosebumps when his music hit, his TNA music, because just the yeah, right. That's great music. It was a little too quiet, to be honest. What I don't like is the countdown before. They should just hit the music and that's it, because it's so powerful.
No, I kind of like the as it's counting down.
Yeah, but they don't need a countdown for 10 seconds or so. That's, I don't know. It's just completely. I don't know how much it was, but it's too long. They should just maybe have this stuttering, but. Yeah, anyway, I liked it because this reminded me of, like, the old Christian from TNA. The for me, best Christian there was in wrestling is in his TNA time. Also nice that Impact uploaded the TNA match from 2007, the ladder match, on the channel this week.
Yeah.
It was really nice. Yeah, and the match was really good. Yeah, it was not spectacular, but it was technically really good. It told a nice story. I like that Christian hit the frog splash really, really good. That was quite far where he jumped. Really, yeah, really like... in German, you say "hats off" or "head off."
Doing the thing again. He's saying.
I didn't do that for quite a while. I had to do it again.
I've missed
now,
it.
like a lot of respect for that. Just thinking about that. Also, he is in his fourth wrestling in his fourth century now. Fourth decade. Sorry, in the fourth decade. Century is a little lot. No, fourth decade now.
I worked out once that sorry, you're talking about wrestling in multiple decades. So the one who's, I think Jerry the King Lawler was 1 year off, and if he comes back from a match now, he'll get it. But he was like 1 year off in his last match. He's like 1 year off wrestling in X amount of decades. I don't know, it was like 6 or 7. But the person who's wrestled in the most decades, I can't remember their name. They're like, I don't know, they've got some sort of crazy name like Hillbilly Joe or someone like that. I'll have to look it up. But Riho, if she has her last match at the same age that Mae Young had her last match, she will have beat him by 2 whole decades. I don't know if it's like this guy's on like 7 and she'll be on 9, or he's on like 6 and she'll be on 8, because she started wrestling when she was like 7. She had her first match or something, and Riho's already wrestled in 3 decades of her life. Do you know what I mean? Which is crazy.
Okay, that's crazy.
So
yeah.
like I said, if she has her last match at the same age Mae Young has her last match, she'll beat the current record holder by 2 decades, which is crazy. So I'd like to see that. Anyway, that was just a factoid that you reminded me of by talking about how many decades people wrestled in. Continue. Sorry.
No worries. That's quite good info to know. Also, that Dustin Rhodes, he's also now in his 5th decade, so that's also already a lot. Yeah, but I like he still got it. The chants are also like, for me, like, let's come, like, in general, great match, really good comeback match for him, or his first match in the promotion. Let's come to things that I didn't like is also the crowd again. But it's mostly through the whole Dynamite, except the last match. The crowd really annoyed me when they were starting chants, and they are really standing there like supporters for a football club, like all together and starting chants, and it doesn't feel organically. I think we said that like week after week after week for now a few months. It just doesn't feel organically. Maybe she should just let it be when there's no audience, because this week it was a pre-recorded show again, and then just if there's no audience, I don't know.
There was no crowd there, though, because...
Yeah, because you could see it from the last match from the cut. There was no audience. Also, like that it was pre-recorded. It did cut really quick. Well, I knew it was
pre-recorded because of the editing, but I didn't realize there was no crowd, because for a couple of reasons. One, because we'll talk about it later, obviously, but the last match, the new entrance music of Orange Cassidy or Best Friends, I don't know who it's attributed to, but that was leaked, obviously a week or so ago.
It was for a Dark Elevation match from him.
Okay, that they used that. Okay.
That was recorded before or after the last Dynamite.
Then if you're 100% on that, then that makes a lot of these chants like. The professionals shouldn't be chanting "You still got it." Do you know what I mean? That's incredibly patronising. I don't know. Yeah, like you said, I completely, with that knowledge in mind, I was like, I was listening to a lot of those chants and thinking, this is forgivable if it's a live crowd, but not if it's the fake crowd. Do you know what I mean? Just definitely. Like you say, it's not very organic. They overact for sure. It's like just be wrestling fans. Have you forgotten how to be wrestling fans? Do you know what I mean? It's crazy. Yeah. I will always love watching wrestlers who were wrestling when I started watching it and when I was a kid, and wrestling good as well. So I love seeing Christian. I love seeing Dustin Rhodes wrestle, because they're both still really good and from back then. I do like seeing Chris Jericho wrestle, although he's not as... He's got a lot more... What would you say? Kind of wear and tear than the other two. He's not... And Matt Hardy is falling apart. But Christian Cage and Dustin Rhodes specifically, and even wrestlers who I wasn't watching when I was a kid, but I know were active when I was a kid, like Minoru Suzuki, obviously, I didn't see until like 2009 or whatever when I got into... a bit later than that. Anyway, whenever I got into New Japan and people like Frankie Kazarian, I didn't see until I started watching TNA in like 2006. So, but I know they were wrestling when I was a kid, and that's quite comforting to me as someone who has never really grown up. It's like, no, I'm not still an adult yet. They're still around. Do you know what I mean? People that I watched as a kid. So, yeah. All-round good match. Like I said, I agree with you. I don't think Christian really lived up to his outwork everyone moniker, because, I mean, what's work rate when we boil it down? It's got a lot of people kind of have different definitions of it, but I think in its simplest definition, it's a wide moveset, utilising a lot of moves in a quick succession. Do you know, what's tell a story, like not too many rest holds, etc., etc. And I mean, he kind of got his ass kicked here quite a bit, so I'm not sure. And he went to the well of one move 4 times. Do you know what I mean? So it's like I said, it was kind of the battle of the crossface chicken wing versus the kill switch. So yeah, I'm not sure if
I
it's
actually thought
yet,
for a few moments that he might also lose the match because there were really close calls. But I like that it gives like a more grounded intro to him, not showing him like this super hype, like he's coming in and winning every championship like WWE does it. So he just comes in there and he has to earn his way up. That's the message I got from that match, and that's what I like from the booking then. And also it doesn't make Frankie Kazarian look that bad, because they are still number one contenders for the tag team championship. So
although him hitting the leg drop and then the flux capacitor and then Christian kicking out of that was a bit much for me for a Dynamite match anyway. Maybe not for a pay-per-view match, but I'm just nitpicking. I'm nitpicking, but it was a fair match. It wasn't a great match, but for someone who'd been out for 7 years, it was pretty incredible. Next up, we had a Darby Allin and Sting promo where Darby called out Matt Hardy's family organisation, HF Hardy Family Office or whatever, I don't fucking know. He basically said he doesn't, care about... Oh, he did mention about Matt Hardy's body breaking down, which I thought was a bit... Oof. Like, that's a bit too real, because they've not addressed the fact that Matt kind of limps everywhere and moves quite slowly, and yet Darby he's out here fucking putting him on blast. He said he doesn't care about the money. He said that Matt has no real friends, and then he kind of set himself on fire or something like Darby Allin does. Sting was there as well. They were all like throwing money off a bridge or something, and then Darby's like, I think it was like a bed covered in money, and he was stood by it with a Matt Hardy mask on and like set everything on fire. Typical Darby Allin shit. Jack, were you a fan of this typical Darby Allin shit? I
was a fan, to be fair. I quite was impressed by this Darby promo, because it did kind of fire some shots at Hardy's way. The cinematography in general is always good for Darby.
Always good. Yeah, and I really like him. I really like that it's different. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It's nice to see that Sting was in it as well. Surprisingly, it was nice to because seems to sometimes come and go as he wants. So it's nice to know that he's still there.
His affiliation with Darby is still a bit like. It changes from week to week, it seems. But.
Yeah, and he also obviously said about earning his respect in it and friends, and the bit where obviously he said about, money doesn't buy my respect or whatever, you have to earn it. And at that point, I think Sting threw some money off the bridge out of a bag, which, as cringy as it kind of probably was, still quite powerful. It was just like, like money's everything to Matt, and he just Sting just kind of threw it off the bridge like it's nothing. So to summarize the whole promo, it's basically like you are using all your money to buy friends. Well, to be my friend kind of thing, you have to earn my respect, and that seems to be what Sting's done for him. I mean, in this kind of, wrestling world, that's what Sting's done. In reality, he just also wears makeup, so that's what he's done. but in wrestling, he's earned his respect, which he has, to be fair.
Little bit wasteful, but I don't think the promo would have been as powerful if they'd cut to them walking into like Cat's Protection or something and donating the money.
Yeah.
Patrick, we had a Jade Cargill promo up next. What did you make of this? She basically called, well, first off, Excalibur called her undefeated, which is a strong word to use after 2 matches. And just
is it wrong though? Is it wrong?
It's not wrong, but there's by that standard,
I'm undefeated.
Yeah, by that standard, there's a shit ton of wrestlers who are undefeated and they never call it out after 2 matches. So I think it's just another more evidence of them. She's Roman Reigns. I'm just saying it. She's Roman Reigns. Like I said, it's strong words after 2 matches. She called herself Red Velvet's idol. Yeah, not role model, her idol. And it's like, I'm your idol. It's like, I don't even fucking know you. You know, like, how can you be my idol when you've just come in and had 2 matches and you've got no established career in this business? Like, it's just weird for me. And she reiterated the whole that bitch thing. What did you make of the promo?
First of all, let's just go back to the promo before and just say one quick sentence. The Team Taz versus Darby and Sting thing is now finally over.
Rejoice.
That's finally sealed. And then just one sentence. Yeah. And one sentence also to this promo. No, just not one sentence, just one sound. That's it.
I mean, we'll talk a bit because there's more stuff happened with her later.
Let's just go to the match, to the next one. I really don't want to waste my time on that.
Yeah, but wrestling fans, they don't like being told who to like, and it's like, I don't know.
That's true, but yeah. A funny story I can maybe say. Jenny saw her the first time, my girlfriend Jenny, and she looked at her, and then as they got down to her abdomen, and when she flexes her muscles, Jenny was like, ugh. Completely my thoughts. So everything is said. Jenny said everything. I didn't say anything. So
there you go. That's a woman talking about a woman. So it's not misogyny. I don't have to get the siren out. Okay, next up we had QT Marshall versus Cody Rhodes with special guest referee Arn Anderson. They made this an unsanctioned match, seemingly out of nowhere. Like, that was just thrown in. They were like, it's an unsanctioned. I was like, bloody hell, is it? Like, I was Chris Kamara.
Didn't they say exhibition, not unsanctioned?
No, an unsanctioned exhibition match. They said unsanctioned. Yeah. That's how that they could get all the hardcore. Just because while we're on it, I know I'm really getting ahead of myself to the point where I'm talking about the last moment of the match, but the bell never rung, so technically I think their match is still going. Like, the bell never rung at the end of the match because there was no disqualification because it was unsanctioned. And then, they specifically said an unsanctioned exhibition match. I was like, oh shit, it's going to go down here. I was like, is it unsanctioned? It's like, it's a bit of a wet fart of an unsanctioned match after Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker. Like, you're really going to have a match like that and then another unsanctioned match and it'd be this. But no, funny enough, I didn't completely hate it. Though it didn't need to be an unsanctioned match, did it? Like, I mean, we know stuff went down after the match, which we'll talk about in a bit, but that could have happened in a normal singles match. Like, they could have just got it could have got disqualified. The offender, we'll talk about it in a minute, could have got disqualified, and there'd be nothing unchanged. Like, surely unsanctioned matches should be the blow-off match to a brutal feud, like we had with Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker, or Kenny Omega, John Moxley, etc., etc. So it's like, it was just weird throwing an unsanctioned match in the middle of a Dynamite card for the first match of a feud. Nightmare Family around ringside. I tell you what, this whole Nightmare Family coming out and Cody's absolute belittling of QT Marshall and is kind of... I felt like QT Marshall was being playground bullied by the Nightmare Family with how they're kind of humiliating him, like, I'm not going to hurt you, don't worry, and stuff, and then all of Cody's mates coming around ringside. And do you know what I mean, Jack? I want to come to Jack specifically because of how critical he's been of QT, but they're playing this, and obviously they definitely are playing this because of what happened at the end, but they're playing this feud, like, coming into this match, they're playing this feud that Cody is the face and QT is the heel, and I said this last week, it doesn't feel that way with anyone with a sense of justice looking at this and looking at Cody being this absolute patronising asshole to QT. And JR picked up on it as well because he was saying, well, yeah, that's insulting. And until the events that transpired at the end of the match, JR was pretty much on QT's side. Where did you stand with this? And because it didn't feel like Cody was supposed to be the face in this.
I've got some bits to say, but I'll just to answer sort of your question. Sort of, if I could try and find something that relates to it, sort of like Joker in the way with the Joker film that came out obviously the other year, where throughout the whole thing you're feeling sorry for him, and he is the face in the story because he's getting society's treating him like shit, and then he turns, and then obviously he's the villain. So in this, he comes off as the villain, but really he's the hero because of just how, society's treated him. You can kind of see how Cody's treated, and you can see kind of how it's been. But it's like, obviously, Cody throws around, the word like, oh, you're probably like my best friend, like all this kind of, these words, these keywords where it's kind of like, and like you said, belittling and all this sort of, I'm not going to hurt you, like, it can come across as patronising.
He's a professional wrestler. Exactly. Do you know what I mean? As much as we slag him off and say he's in the way in storylines, he's a professional wrestler, and you got to treat every match like. Do you know what I mean?
Well, there's been plenty of matches in wrestling where it's friends versus friends, and they've not belittled them. They've taken it seriously. It's like whoever wins, it's like fair play.
The respectful thing to do is to give it your all. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Look at Inner Circle's like tag team feud. They're all friends, and they all fucking tried, didn't they? Just stuff like that. It's like,
they didn't go easy on each other, so it's disrespectful, I think. So I don't
massively.
Yeah,
I don't warrant what QT did, but you can see it like Joker. I don't warrant what Joker did in the end, but you can see why. Like,
you heard it here first. QT is iconic as the Joker. QT is to AEW what the Joker is to the DC universe.
There you go.
Cody he hit the fast arm drag to start off the match. Got QT in a position where he could have stomped on his head. Again, shit like this. Like, do you know what I mean? Where he was like, I could do it if I wanted to. Like, could stamp on his head, but didn't. QT then started targeting the shoulder. There was Cody's friends chant from the crowd. Again, this is not something that the fake crowd should be chanting. The Cody's friends stuff.
Because that Cody's friends came naturally from the crowd, didn't it, when it happened last week?
Well, again, also, it's an insulting thing for pro wrestlers to chant at another pro wrestler. And again, this all just made it feel like you are not coming across how you think you're coming across right now. Yeah. Like, you're not coming across with Cody as the face and QT.
Maybe it's American. Maybe it's just our British way.
Yeah, that's not coming across in this match. It just feels like bullying, to be honest. After QT started targeting the shoulder, was like, it's an exhibition! Okay. The Gun Club were complaining about that at ringside as well. JR had an awesome dig at them because, again, like I love JR's commentary in this match because he seemed to be the only one picking up on the injustice of it all and that Cody was coming across as heel and QT was coming across as face. And I don't normally say I love JR commentary, but the Gun Club, I think Tony Schiavone or Excalibur said something like that. Not a lot of people know this, but the Gun Club are actually really close. They don't realise how close the Gun Club are to Cody. And JR says, well, they try to keep it quiet. Like, obviously sarcastically, because they're always coming out and stuff. And I love that. From JR was on point today, I have to say. Credit where credit's due. Then it cut to the ads, even though they promised us it wouldn't go to the ads. It came back and Cody was in charge. He was whipping his belt off. Cody went for the figure four leg lock and then didn't do it, and then the crossroads and didn't do it, which again I think is weird because last week he said he just wouldn't break his leg in the figure four leg lock and he wouldn't follow through on the crossroads, whatever that's supposed to mean. So he never said he wouldn't do it, and again it's just really weird way for him to behave in a wrestling match, really disrespectful way. He just wouldn't hit his moves on him. Cody's friend chant again. We all know what happened after the match, and we'll get to that in a minute, but I was really glad. Might as well say this. Obviously, some wrestlers turned on the Nightmare Family from inside the Nightmare Family, turned on them. I was really glad that Aaron Solo was one of them because as the crowd were chanting Cody's friend, I'm looking and I'm thinking, Aaron Solo, for people who don't know, he's in a relationship with Bayley. I think they're engaged, but he has gotten chants.
They broke up like a few weeks ago. Yep, they broke up.
So Bailey's back on the market. She's my wrestling crush. It's still possible. I've got to get wrestling so I can get in the scene and
you should order the wacky waving inflatable inflating tube mints for your marriage already. So
that's good because I can like Aaron Solo now. He hasn't stolen my woman.
Yeah, but now his name is also Program. He's Solo.
It's still relevant as someone who he was getting, even though I don't think they weren't married, but I think he was getting like Bailey's husband chants and stuff, or Bailey, and he was getting that, and he's come out and spoken about how much he hates that. So for him to then be complicit in the Cody's friend shit, struck me as really disingenuous. So I am glad that he was one of the ones who turned. Do you know what I mean? Because then otherwise it would be like, you're okay with this when you've explicitly come out and said how disrespectful it is to people to chant that you're only famous because of Bayley. Do you know what I mean? So, I was happy about that. QT then, I mean, shit kind of all went down when QT punched Arn Anderson, and then he took him outside, and I've written down, he disarmed Arn by slamming his arm. He went after Arn's arm on the barricade.
In fairness, when he did hit Arn, I was like, Jesus Christ. Like, kind of did come out of nowhere.
Yeah. Then, so specifically, it was Aaron Solo, Nick Comoroto, and Anthony Ogogo, the bronze medalist from the UK. They were the ones that turned with QT on the rest of the Nightmare family. They got the steps up on the stage, the steel steps, and assisted QT in hitting a pile driver on Dustin Rhodes. They then got Cody up in the ring, and Ogogo punched him in the gut, in the body, and then brought him out and set him up for a chair shot on the stairs. At this point, Brandy's understudy, as I like to call her, came up, because she just fills in for all the spots Brandy would be in. Do you know what I mean? She's definitely Cody's substitute wife. Red Velvet came out, and it's like, why are you this passionate about Cody? It's like she's definitely just doing the stuff that Brandy was supposed to do, which is weird considering that they weren't feuding, were they? No, it was her and Jay Carter.
Yeah,
she was mates with her. Yeah. Anyway, ignore me there. You always do. But no, she came out to try and protect Cody, and they all backed off. Again, just I find it weird that she just fills in for all the spots Brandy's supposed to. Heard a little bit from Jack about the beginning of the match. We will come back to you, but Patrick, thoughts on the match as a whole? I mean, it's still ongoing. Like I said, there was no ring bell, so I think the match. I'd like
Rumor
to see
has
QT
it
kind of
they're
just
fighting now.
pin him in his sleep. Yeah.
It was. I was not happy with that match, to be honest. It was weird. It was it was not. Also, it wasn't a real match, like you said. Then, like, Arn Anderson was knocked over, and then Cody started at some point attacking. Hitting real, like he said. No, I'm not going to hit you real, so I'm not stomp on you or anything. And then he did that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm like for this. That's nothing for me. It feels so pushed into it to give, I don't know, Cody or the Nightmare family some relevancy, because I rarely know what they're doing on Dark, or so the most of the characters there. I just know about Cody, and then QT Marshall gets pushed into that. I find it real shameful, because the feud that was built up between him and Penta, that would have interested me way, way more. And
That was so weird how that was just discarded.
Yeah, it would have been also, in my opinion, better for the whole program than just having another civil war within a faction, because we come later to it. There is another civil war. Yeah, it's not now a civil war anymore, but it started with a civil war.
Right?
Yeah, it's way better, but it's and then you got another thing also coming on, like with the Hardy family, and then you're like, it's just really, why do you have to do that now? Just keep it like it is. It's in the end, it was nice that Solo, Comoroto, Anthony Ogogo, and
Comoroto really shone. Anytime he's doing moves, it doesn't even have to be in a match. Like he was in, like you say, he was in a super quick squash match. He looked amazing. He looked amazing here again. Like, that guy's the star of the group. And here's the thing, like, I always complain, and I still complain, about Nightmare family nepotism, which is another reason why Cody seems so heel, and why he doesn't realise how he's coming across, because pushing all his mates and his students at the expense of other people. Do you know what I mean? And we'll come to Ethan Page in a minute. Where the fuck has Ethan Page been? And yet you're pushing people like from the Nightmare family rather than your established stars you brought in, and not respecting them. That was always winding me up. But if there's one person from the Nightmare family who does deserve the push and isn't getting it, I mean, he probably might be getting pushed just because of relation to Cody anyway. But if there's one person who deserves it on talent alone, it's what was it? Nick? Did I call him Anthony Comoroto? Like, sorry, I think I might have mixed him up with Anthony Ogogo. Nick Comoroto. He's fantastic.
And now you got also like the Contrary program. Like I said before, it's such a grounding and normal and good, like working up the ladder introduction for Christian. And now on the other hand, you have these teams with the people who get now pushed into just the main program, not a bigger program or anything like in the title scene, but just in this bigger program. For really, I don't know. It doesn't feel right yet. They should have waited with it. They should have given also the feud more introduction there. It's just, when was it on Revolution when QT turned the first time on? Like, I have to say, I don't know what happens on Dark, but they have to understand that most of the viewers don't watch Dark. So, and then I think like 2 weeks ago or so. When was that? 2 weeks ago. When QT Marshall did something, and then last week, and now they announced the match. So that was, I don't know, it feels off for presenting him for, I don't know, 2 years is it almost, or 1.5 years, as such a big friend of Cody and everything. It can't turn this fast. That's a thing also which is contrary to the program, which we see later with the Bucks and Kenny. This thing goes on for so long, and also with Hangman Page, that it takes super long to when you have strong bonds with huge friendship in it to turn on each other. That's what they're telling us. That's what they want to have us emotionally invested in, and this is why I'm not emotionally invested in this civil war,
Jack,
whatever you want to call it.
Do you have anything to add?
Cody's having a shit 2021. Compared to last year, Cody, this is such a downgrade. Like last year, he was jumping off steel cages. He was taking whippings from MJF. He had probably one of the best matches on that pay-per-view with MJF. And now he's feuding with QT Marshall. Like that is a downgrade and a half.
Cody was the star of the live crowd era of AEW.
And now he's this close to getting on Dark.
Yeah. Yeah, it won't be called the live crowd here in the grand scheme of things, because hopefully we'll be back to full live crowds one day soon. But you talk about his 2020. We obviously thought Hangman Page had the hottest out of anyone in 2020. Just,
ironic, because if you talk to Hangman Page, you'll probably say he had the shittest 2020.
Yeah. a lot of publications are saying John Moxley as well. But I think 2019 was Cody's year. That was the year of Cody. And I would have said he did win a lot of Best Wrestler of the Year awards in 2019. I don't think he won either of the big ones like PWI or WN, but regardless, I thought he was the best in the world, the best face in the world in 2019. As you said, he also had an amazing 2020.
And Brody Lee was first TNT champ. Like, he had all this, like...
Yeah, that was in 2020. Hey, he did have a fantastic 2020.
Yeah, and then you look at it this year, he had the Face of the Revolution ladder match, which he obviously didn't win. He had a brief feud with Penta, and then he's got this feud with QT. It's like, when you compare him, it's shit. It just is.
Next up, we had a promo that, initially the promo seemed like it was from Ethan Page alone, where he was talking about how he's been underappreciated. He was promised so much coming in, hasn't been utilised or whatever, which, fair enough. And then halfway through one of his sentences, it cut to Scorpio Sky completing what he was saying. Also talking about how he's not been used right, essentially, kind of shooting a little bit. And it, transpires, it's a promo they're cutting together. The camera changes a cut, and they're sat next to each other. Seems like they're forming some sort of tag team. Apparently they're having a match on Dark Elevation versus Matt and Mike Sydal. They're really trying to push Dark Elevation. There's a lot of promos for it this time. Let's go, Patrick. What do you make of this partnership?
I find it quite weird that Scorpio Sky is now without like any further bigger ado out of SCU and not being with them anymore. There wasn't a big explanation for it. It's just like when he was injured, then he was gone for a while, then he came back now, like more, of course he was more pushed as a single wrestler, that's just fine, but then got his own entrance music, but they never said that he's out of SCU. So that's what I think is weird, and they're not teaming it up with Ethan Page, they're just pushing him also to the moon now. I don't know. I don't know what to hope from this.
Partnership of the overlooked people, to be fair. It doesn't make sense to me.
But is he overlooked? He's just there for like 3 weeks or so.
I do think he's been overlooked. In the 3 weeks he's been, the month he's been there or whatever, I think he has been overlooked.
Yeah.
I will say this. I like this, and I'd quite like to see them. See, this is the ranking system working against them. I would like to see. So we'll talk about this at the end of the show, and I don't want to get ahead of myself or anything, but I think Best Friends, obviously we're not talking about the result or anything, but I think Best Friends are primed to take the tag team championships now. I think this is their time. So I'd actually like to see the Young Bucks' first reign end rather soon. And they can have a face versus face and drop it to Best Friends easy and still work it into their current feud with the Good Brothers and whoever, because they can. I mean, we had a promo later on where Don Callis was kind of isolating Matt and getting in his head. They can have it be psychological reasons why they're not in the game with Best Friends, and then kind of pin that on Don Callis and his boys, and they can continue that feud without titles involved for me. But what I would like, and this is what I meant about them kind of booking themselves into a corner with the win-loss record is, I mean, they're going to have to give SCU a title shot quite soon because of their number one ranking. But I don't think they're going to take it off the Young Bucks, and I think the Young Bucks are already involved in the storyline. They don't need to. It would kind of be a disservice to me to not make a bigger storyline out of SCU being retired and the Young Bucks being the ones who does it. And I honestly think a team like this, Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky, with Scorpio Sky being a former member of SCU, should be the ones to retire them. And especially then it would tie up that loose end that Patrick mentioned about them never really acknowledging Scorpio Sky leaving SCU. Scorpio Sky could, they could harken back to that and say, I remember how he left SCU, and they could give some exposition about him leaving SCU if him and Ethan Page are the ones to retire them, which I can see is what I would have happen. In terms of how I'd do that is I'd keep this streak going longer, as long as Christopher Daniels is willing to go, because I think he might want to be looking at retiring and taking a backstage role. But as long as he's willing to keep going, I would keep this streak going while this is how I'd book it. Okay, so I'd have Best Friends take the titles and have a nice long run, and I'd honestly would give SCU, because everyone would think they'd lose that match. Everyone would think they're retiring. I would honestly have them have a title match and win the titles one last time, and maybe hold it for maybe a month, 2 months tops. Have it be a short reign, and then I'd have Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky come along and take the titles, crush their dreams, retire them. That's how I'd play it anyway. But this is the thing with the ranking system, they're going to have a match super soon, and they're going to end up facing the Young Bucks potentially, and the Young Bucks are going to retire them with absolutely no investment in their storyline and no emotional triggers there or anything. And I think that kind of sucks, and I don't think that's how SCU, the first tag team, although it was Kazarian and Scorpio Sky officially the first AEW tag champions, I don't think that's how they should go out. So I don't know what you guys think.
No, yeah, so I do agree. It'd be a shame, because if they're never going to be a tag team again, then it's got to be a big sort of finish. And I get what you mean and I do think you're right with the Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky, and it'd be nice because obviously Scorpio Sky's the younger one, so it'd be like passing the torch down. Like
Scorpio Sky be the one to get the pin too.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
And be like you fly the flag for SCU.
I think Scorpio Sky on Christopher Daniels is how I'd book it, because Christopher Daniels is the one that seems to be. I mean, there's a saying in wrestling is always go out on your back. Do you know what I mean? And it means in your last match take the pin. I don't know if Christopher Daniels will be retiring or I'm sure he'll keep coming back for matches. I don't think he's officially retiring, but I think out of the two of them, he is the one that's looking to slow down, but especially based on tonight with Kazarian and how he performed against Christian.
Well, that's it. And obviously, Kazarian and Scorpio Sky could both have singles runs anyway. And to be fair, they could still tag, couldn't they? Eventually,
if they made up, yeah.
Yeah.
But,
so it's really just obviously Christopher Daniels' way out. So yeah, I agree. That's a good way to book it. I don't think I've got any other alternative. It's got to be either obviously the way it most likely will be, which would be losing to Bucks and then being the way out, which would still be okay, but just without that emotional investment, which is what you need for this sort of storyline, or the way you've booked it, which sounds much better option to me.
But yeah, that's the thing. But then the number one contender thing gets in the way. So I don't know. I mean, they could have SCU beat the Young Bucks. No, I mean, no one would see it coming. But they could also. Thered have to be some fuckery there from Don Callis. And,
definitely,
etc. for that to make any sense. But And again, this is the problem. This is why they need the trios title yesterday, because they could put the trios title on Best Friends while they do this. But at the moment, with just one set of tag titles, they will be overlooking Best Friends, who are ready right now.
Yeah, they're hot, man. They're hot.
Yeah, they are hot.
Especially like the matches the last couple feuds you've seen of them. Obviously, the street fight with Santana Ortiz, and then you look at this one. Like, they're beating these guys now. Like, obviously, it's in these gimmick matches where they seem to reign supreme a little bit, but they're obviously still good in tag matches we've seen. Yeah. So I mean, it's ready. When you look at what sort of, I mean, it's obvious, like AEW has a lot of good tag teams, so you'd like to see loads of them have it, but they do seem like they've been up there like since pretty much the start of like AEW. They've always been in like that top 5, even when they've been doing other stuff. So it's like they're definitely in with the shout. There's probably about, you'd probably say 2 or 3 names. You could probably, like Good Brothers, you could obviously see with storyline wise taking it off them, and you could obviously all see like Death Triangle as well. With obviously they've got
I will come to that in a minute, or maybe not Death Triangle, maybe the Lucha Brothers and Laredo Kid, but we'll talk about that a bit more, that book and stuff later. But just to put a point on it, if you introduce the trio titles now, you can put titles on Best Friends, which needs to happen. Best Friends and Orange Cassidy can be trios champion, and then you could do something like have SCU get their shot. And like I said, the Young Bucks losing, for one, that would be incredibly surprising, but 2, they can make it make sense with this psychological stuff with Don Callis, right, that they've got going on right now. And then the undefeated thing can keep going, and maybe Scorpio Sky can retire them. That's what I'd like to see anyway. Next up, we had a promo, if you can call it that, from Red Velvet. She basically started talking about why she came to save Cody, and then Jade Cargill comes and attacks her and says, I already told you I'm that bitch. So, I don't know. It seems like she's attacking her because Red Velvet hasn't understood she's that bitch. Like, her motives for the attack is, I told you that I'm that bitch. When will you get it through your head that I'm that bitch? What does that even mean? Jack, how can Red Velvet prove that she knows that Jade Cargill is that bitch?
I just feel sorry for Red Velvet at this point. Yeah, so this was just weird. I mean, is there much really to say? The only thing I've got to say is I find it weird how Jade Cargill was meant to be this big like deal. Yeah, she's not actually had a match with anyone that's like, you'd say, with the big characters in like the women's division. Like, you know, anyone. It's obviously
Hikaru Shida's. Yeah, it's like she lives in a separate universe.
Yeah, it is. It's like it is a separate universe. That's a good way to describe it. Yeah, that's all I have to say. I reckon let's just brush past that.
You've got the regular women's universe, and then you've got the Jade Cargill universe, where all that exists is her and her Red Velvet and Brandy Rose are the only people that exist within this women's universe. That brings us to Jon Moxley versus Cesar Blingring. It started with a promo from Moxley listing the things that pisses him off. Cesar Bando String looks like a Baywatch lifeguard, he says. He didn't say it word for word. That's me not being able to remember his surname, so doing that thing I do. And he mentioned the Bucks, and I guess we're on the same side now, etc., etc. More of the same from last week. There's some nice wrestling from Mox here. He hit a dragon screw, which I haven't seen him do before, at least not in a while. Then he worked the leg, put a single leg crab on. Ryan Nemeth and JD Drake at ringside. Nemeth grabs Mox's leg. Cesar throws Mox out of the ring, and JD Drake, it's a clothesline on him, I believe. And Cesar's pretty much kicking Mox's ass. It's pretty much similar to most of Mox's squash matches, like the one he had against, what's it, your boy, the one you like, Nick Comoroto, is it, Patrick?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Similar fare to that. Cesar looks like he's hurt his knee. Mox hits a nice German suplex, showing a bit of his more technical side there. Hits a paradigm shift on one of the two guys who came to ringside with Cesar Bononi. I think it was JD Drake. I'm not 100% sure. And then Mox got him in the rear naked choke, and it was over. Thoughts on this match, Jack?
it was a bit of a nothing match to me, to be honest. I'm not too sure what was really the outcome of it. I mean, it just was what it was. It was okay.
I think it was an excuse for Mox to have a promo, to be honest.
Yeah, I think.
Well, let's talk about that then. What was your thoughts on Mox's promo?
Yeah,
from what you remember of it.
It's good, especially, and we won't spoil it now for the listeners, but when we get to preview of next week's card, you'll see. But definitely for what's happening in that match, it's a nice little tease, and for what's further to come in this storyline, it's looking forward, and there's some good stuff happening in this storyline.
Patrick, again, I suppose you want to build on anything Jack said about the promo, but also the match itself. Does it seem as if we're getting a faction here of sorts? I don't know if this is something from Dark, but Cesar and JD Drake and Ryan Nemeth.
Yeah, it looks like it because, but what Jack already said regarding next week's matches they announced, it looks like a little bit. Don't know what they will be called. I don't know. The Brazilian Bononis, whatever.
Cesar Panini.
Cesar Panini. Cesaro section. I don't know.
Pepperoni. Why haven't I done that one yet? Cesar Pepperoni.
Yeah, right.
It's right there.
Yeah, looks like it. Let's see if there will be more on the air or just enhancement talent like they are here, because the match is clearly just a squash match for Moxley. And there's nothing more to say to it. I think Jack said everything that needs to be said to it.
Does like to get beat up in his squash matches, though. For a squash match, he does take a hell of a beating in these matches.
Maybe he just needs it. I don't know if he has like a fetish for it, but maybe he just needs to be beaten up every once in a while to get a feeling in his body again that he's alive, but then he just still wins, so...
That is very Mox. That's our headcanon then, why he's getting his ass kicked by jobbers is he's letting them to jack himself up. He needs to hulk up. That's what it is. Next up, we had a promo from Team Taz. It actually quite made me laugh here. I've actually not hated the Team Taz promos the last couple of weeks because they've been so quick and concise and actually quite funny. Taz said everything is fine. It's like the Bullet Club is fine, throwback from years ago. Everything is fine in Team Taz. Ricky cuts him off and he's like, let me take it from here, Taz. And Taz just goes, okay. Like that, which I thought was hilarious. How he just kind of went with it. Brian Cage seems annoyed, and there seemed to be some friction there. And then Taz finished it off, just completely ignoring all the tension, going, Team Taz, baby, Team Taz! He was quite fun. It was quite funny to me. I think people don't give Taz credit for his comedic side a lot. Patrick, what's going on? Are we working towards a Ricky Starks Brian Cage match, or what?
Maybe. I would be really looking forward to have it.
They should put if that happens, they should have the FTW title on the line, surely, because he's not defended that. But
definitely.
But it would make sense in story for him to defend it. That's the only time Taz lets it be defended. You know what I mean? Against someone else in Team Taz, essentially.
Yeah, would be something also like we said before, like in a war, a civil war story, like a civil war within that faction.
It's not really large enough to have a full-blown civil war, though, is it? Team Taz, I suppose.
Yeah, right.
It's like five guys. 4.
Yeah, like how Ricky Starks looked there in the beginning, clearly comedic, like having his head on his hand and looking like a complete doofus. That was quite good. But what I also liked, it was short. It just brought on point, just evolved the storyline a little bit, or told it a little more. What is happening here? They are drifting apart more and more, and maybe that's a little bit too much interpretation on it. But you saw Brian Cage on the far left side and Ricky Starks on the far right side. Maybe that's a pinpoint to it, but yeah, I liked it.
Next up, we had one of the big talking points of the night, which oh man, this was awesome because it just came from nowhere. It just seemed like it was just going to be another backstage segment, another little comedy bit with MJF giving the Pinnacle a gift he's got for them, which was a stylist and an interior decorator. So I think he's got like these kind of style profile in the room, and then he goes to get the interior decorator, goes to open the door, and who is stood there but the inner circle sans Jake Hager, because Jake Hager is stood at the other door as they try to escape out the other way. Guevara starts kicking Spears' ass and slams him into a door, I believe, and then Jake Hager and the War Dog Wardlow going at it, and Jake Hager puts him through a massage table. Cash gets thrown in the ice bath. Dax gets stabbed in the head with a bit of wood, and Jericho puts MJF through. First he gives him a swirly, and then puts him through the Pepsi machine, and then gives him a "This is our dressing room, bitch." This was just. It was so well shot for me, and it was just awesome. What did you make of it, Jack? You got a big smile on your face, so I'll come to you first.
It was an iconic moment. I mean, it was obvious they were going to come back. It was obviously, it's obvious.
I wasn't expecting it though. They worked me into a shoot. I was
they did. I wasn't expecting them to come back, so soon or in that sort of way. But it's great to have them back. Going to have more of this kind of back and forth stuff. I love that there's now a meme of MJF when he opens that door and insert a clip of, something.
Is it in the AEW meme-verse? I haven't.
Yes. Basically, someone uploaded it with the green screen and people been adding like just scenes which you'd be like uncomfortable with. But like there was one that was the 69 me done from the other week. So MJF opens the door and that clip and he closes it. He's like, "We gotta go."
Amazing.
So it's a good meme, and people been putting their own twists on that, so that's good. But now it's class, and it's nice seeing, as I said when they were announced to Pinnacle, seeing these one-on-one matchups or the tag team matchup, just basically how they're quite identical in the way they're formed, and the characters they've got. So it's awesome. Looking forward to seeing more of it. Looking forward to seeing the Pinnacle and Inner Circle future Blood and Guts match, which has to happen. And if it's not, I'll be emailing Tony Khan and saying they've mucked that one up there.
Give us Blood and Guts?
Exactly.
It's so funny. It's so funny that anytime there's like a large rivalry which you can fit 5 people against 5 people in, everyone's going, okay, this is the Blood and Guts match. Wait, this is the Blood and Guts match. Just waiting for it. Just waiting for the confirmation one of these days that this will be the Blood and Guts match.
Exactly.
I suppose, we usually come to just one of you during backstage segments, but this one was almost a match in itself, so I'd like to get your opinion on it, Patrick. What were your thoughts on this? Did you enjoy it as much as me and Jack did?
Of course. That was really cool. It was really well shot also, like you said before. It was just good fun. Also to bring the Inner Circle,
like those kind of action movie cuts from like one person doing them. Yeah, it was good stuff.
Yeah, and then with the camera also following them at some points. What I didn't get with all the thing is, like I saw afterwards, that Dax had quite a big wound where he bleeded from a lot. I didn't see how that came to play. He was just sitting there when the camera cut back with a blood-covered face.
But I like that because it kind of like the camera can't, it's not like they're. It gives a sense they weren't just waiting there to do the blood spot. Do you know what I mean? They were actually fighting off camera, definitely. Because if they were waiting around just to.
This happened.
Yeah.
When I saw it afterwards, like how he was bleeding. Otherwise, I would be like, yeah, he's just sitting there, like bleeding, like just for the effect that they attacked him at some point. But now, when I saw the big wound, I was like, oh, I would have loved to see what happened there. But yeah, that's nothing bad. But in general, great. And I can only agree that finally there should be a Blood and Guts match. Although I think who is the 5th man in the Pinnacle? I think Tully Blanchard in a Blood and Guts match, he will die there.
Absolutely, he will. No, we don't need Tully in there.
You don't need Tully.
Yeah, you got MJF, Wardlow, the FTR and Sean Spears.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I forgot about Wardlow.
I like that. It's not going to happen, but I just like this idea of kind of the coach MJF now picking his team for Blood and Guts.
Yeah.
And he's going through you, and it gets down to Wardlow Tully Blanchard. I was like, just picks Tully for the violent
Should
double
I
cage
pick?
match. He absolutely would die. Then we had Alex Marvez interviewing the Young Bucks, and Don Callis interrupts, and he kind of gets Matt alone, which I found it quite weird that kind of Nick kind of obliged him when he's just telling him to piss off, and so he does. Kind of started gaslighting him into kind of thinking everything's his fault that's happened, and that Kenny's the good guy who's left New Japan for them and they're the ungrateful ones, and it kind of looks like Matt's kind of believing it a little bit. Kind of slaps him and says that he says something like, you make me sick to my stomach, or something like that. You physically make me sick, or whatever. I haven't really been keeping up to date with BT. I've been watching it a little bit, but it does seem to be Matt that's having the kind of existential crisis that they're carrying over into Dynamite. Patrick, can you tell us a little more about that, and what were your thoughts on this little interview segment?
First of all, this is my heel moment of the week.
God damn it.
This was really great again regarding the storytelling. Also, like you said, like it's weird that he tells Nick, get out of my way, and then Nick just looks at him and just leaves,
does it.
and you're like, okay, yeah, suspension of disbelief, I believe so, yeah. But then he talks to Matt again, takes him aside, wants to like he might have found the weak spot in the duo of the brothers, and takes him aside again and talks to him. In private again, and also that was interesting. Ask him if he's like dead from the inside or hollow from the inside or whatever it is. If he doesn't feel anything anymore because he's not the same he used to be. He let Kenny back like a wounded or a bleeding animal instead of helping him. And if he's still feeling something inside or so, that was quite deep, to be honest, because that's the thing what it is about. So in BTE, Matt, like I said last week, Matt was sitting at the office desk in a suit, being like the corporate guy now, and and when he was sitting there and just realized, I'm gonna make it like a small restaurant appointment for me and my family and everything's fine, and then he looked there and you're like, okay, he feels like that this like typical office, not only office but management worker also. He's just doing his job, doing his best way, making everything fit into corporate, and then he realizes, am I just doing what I'm told to do, what I'm that I'm just functioning but not thinking myself, that I'm getting empty on the inside, this midlife crisis thing maybe also. So that's a nice touch what they're putting on there, and I'm really curious to see where this will end up in the end, with the whole constellation. That Mox still owes something to the Bucks, and
and he feels like he has to pay it kind of thing, because that's like Mox's kind of honor, isn't it? Like his kind of code.
Yeah, right. So it's interesting. They're building something interesting that makes me very curious. Also regarding the title now, because the title is not really on the line right now, the AEW title. So that's interesting to see, to have them both involved. Also the tag team champions in this case, the Young Bucks. So that's an interesting constellation.
Yeah, that early 30s midlife crisis of Matt. I mean, but based on a wrestler's lifespan, it could be. Do you know what I mean? That's a sad thought.
Wrestler's lifespan, he's more in like, yeah.
we want Matt and Nick around for a very long time. Next up, we had the Lucha Brothers and Laredo Kid versus Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers. Where is Pac? Is Pac stranded again due to COVID or something? Bueller.
He's injured.
Yeah,
ankle.
He's
injury.
injured.
Okay. Still,
I'm glad we got someone who knows what's going on. So yeah, I guess they're kind of, I suppose Laredo Kid's sort of subbing in for what Pac would be doing, but it's inconvenient timing, because obviously they having to just ignore the fact that Pac and Ray Phoenix specifically were on course for a tag title match, etc., etc. And it was sort of a heel versus heel match, this, because like, this is the weird thing. They've got Alex Abrahantes still doing mouthpiece for Penta with his kind of shit-eating grin and his kind of, nasty,
People have
sadistic.
been loving that, by the way. I've been on Reddit.
No. I'm not saying I'm not saying a bad thing, but it's
I'm just saying, yeah.
It's quintessentially heel, though. Do you know what I mean? Which kind of made this a heel versus heel match. But yeah, started out very strong with Phoenix. Started very strong. We had a little super kick party from the Luchas. Nice moonsault tope combo. Then Doc and Kenny kind of were trading tags, isolating Laredo Kid, who's obviously like the weak link of that team, in the corner. Kenny was being Kenny, being very cocky. We had a there was a nice triple splash. I don't know if you caught that bit. There was kind of didn't they all kind of get on each other's backs or something and kind of fall on? It was Kenny and the Good Brothers, I think. Yeah.
Made like a triple jumping whatever bomb.
Yeah, it was
Splash
pretty unique. Yeah, I think Excalibur called it a triple splash. Yeah. We got another name check for Tanahashi, I think, when they were doing the Sling Blades. They seem to mention him every week. Do you think Tanahashi could be the one showing up? I'm genuinely asking it now because of how they seem to mention him literally like every week. Yeah. Because before this, I was just thinking, he's the ace or former ace of New Japan. And they're just referencing him a lot because they're trying to familiarize the crowd with New Japan for when whoever shows up. I didn't really read too much into it specifically being Tanahashi. But they do specifically mention him a lot to the point where part of me is wondering, could Tanahashi show up? Because that would be... I mean, that's big for everybody because New Japan don't really need him at the moment, but he's a massive star, and if he came to, I'd quite like to see it, to be honest. There was an awesome reversal from Kenny. He did a reversal on a Laredo Kid move into a powerbomb. He followed up with a V-trigger, which he kicked out of, I believe. An insane tope from Laredo Kid, I believe, and he reversed the One-Winged Angel as well. He didn't kick out of the One-Winged Angel. Nice Michinoku driver, really nice back and forth from then. He missed the Phoenix Splash, then he actually did get the One-Winged Angel in, and it was over, after which Jon Moxley and the Young Bucks come down. I don't think the Young Bucks specifically tore it up with Kenny. I don't think either of them came to blows. One of you can correct me if I'm wrong, but they're setting up for that, I believe. Before we get ahead of ourselves, Jack, what did you make of the match as a whole?
This was another me. I've been saying it quite a lot recently because, I think it's true. I think these guys were just awesome. Great match, high energy, and just kind of keeping the more obviously Ray Phoenix relevant for obviously when the tag match happens. Eventually, keeping them in action, but also, it's nice they're using this Laredo Kid. Whilst he's, given his time to be part of AEW, I guess they'll obviously fill in for Pac till Pac can come back and then they can get back on track with whatever storyline they were going for there. But it's cool. It's always love seeing some luchadors wrestle. Probably my favourite type of wrestling to watch from a viewing side of stuff. So great match for me. Loved it, and more excited for what's to come next in this storyline.
And why don't we have Patrick run us through the after the match and what is to come next in this storyline? I mean, obviously, we're going to talk about next week, but...
Yeah, so after the match, Jon Moxley came out and faced Kenny Omega, and since he's alone, 1 against 3, the Young Bucks joined him. And they're staring down each other. That's basically what happened. So, and then they're like really... Kenny with the Good Brothers and Callis. Was Callis also in the ring with him already? I think he was in the ring after the match. He directly came from the announcer position in the ring, but then they fled out of the ring.
That's what Don Callis does
from
best.
The Bucks and Mox, yeah.
I think we mentioned it before on this when he ran away before, but there was like I don't know if it was a Wrestle Kingdom or it was around that time, because he used to be a commentator for New Japan, Don Callis did, and there was a moment when he was like being really buddy with Chris Jericho, because they're both from Canada. Don Callis just latches onto other Canadian wrestlers, and I think he was really scared of Minoru Suzuki, I think was the thing they were doing. I think it was Minoru Suzuki, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but there was a point where he came around ringside and Don Callis just disappeared for like the first half of the show because he ran out of the arena. So they're kind of bringing out that kind of same persona where he just like runs away. It's brilliant. We had a promo next from Britt Baker and Rebel Not Reba, where Britt was basically saying that Dark Elevation was like the perfect place for Rosa to get her wins up. So even they're acknowledging that that's the place that they just use to artificially inflate wins. Do you know what I mean? Even though obviously Britt Baker's a heel, but that is true. What she's doing, she's basically saying this is kind of a jobber place. Yeah, basically saying she's it's funny because she's saying it's the perfect place for Thunder Rosa, essentially saying she's too good for Elevation, but then she's saying, but you can catch me on Elevation. It was essentially just a plug for Dark Elevation. Jack, what's the difference between AEW Dark and AEW Dark Elevation? Do tell me.
Insert meme from The Office here where corporate wants you to spot the differences between these two pictures. They're the same picture. Exactly. And that's all I'm going to say because I think you covered pretty much what I wanted to say anyway there. So,
but you love Britt Baker.
I do love Britt Baker. Good promo from her, but it was just an advert for Dark Elevation.
It was just an advert, wasn't it? So we can just move on. Next up, we had Nyla Rose and the Bunny versus Tay Conti and Hikaru Shida. I'll come to you first, Patrick. What were your thoughts on this match?
The part from Tay Conti, or most parts Tay Conti and Hikaru Shida were in the driver's seat in the match and executing their moves. This part was good, but when it came to Nyla Rose and the Bunny, especially the Bunny, I was like, it's just not good. It's not AEW, or it's not Dynamite worthy. You know, she's
then you must have been
Nyla Rose is.
You must have been particularly pissed when it was the Bunny specifically and not Nyla Rose who got the pin against Tay Conti then. Although it wasn't clean. It wasn't clean.
I was really pissed. No, it was not clean. That's what I'm happy for, because she had also this nice judo roll. How do you say that in English?
Yeah, she was executing some judo moves in this. If I just give a play-by-play quick.
Yeah.
Beginning of the match, Dark Order came out, as they have been doing, as they did last time, to kind of celebrate Tay Conti and support her. I think they mentioned it something like, I don't know if this is it specifically, it was something like 319 or something days that Hikaru Shida has had the title at this point. And she's the longest reigning champion in AEW history. Tay Conti started with a nice knee lift on the Bunny. She was kicking the Bunny's ass through a lot of this, to be honest. She was like trash talking Matt Hardy. The camera was focusing on Tay Conti a lot, which I was hoping was kind of indicative that she was going to kind of win this, but she ended up actually being the one that took the pin. She'd have suplexed the Bunny into the ropes. So Bunny was taking a lot of moves to give her kind of credit where credit's due, but who else are they going to do the moves on? They're not going to do the moves on Nyla Rose, are they? Especially with moves like, at one point, Tay Conti did like a backbreaker right in front of Matt Hardy, like saying, yeah, look at this kind of thing. And they did like this kind of move where she kind of swung the Bunny around her body into a backbreaker. It was quite slow, but it was also quite nice. As you said, she did her kind of judo moves. It kind of started breaking down ringside a bit. Did they all kind of... Was there a bit where they were like jumping out of the ring? There was, wasn't there? Where they did that whole jumping into a crowd spot. It was Conti and Shida, wasn't it? Yeah,
right. And Jim Ross, I think, wasn't happy about that again.
Was he not?
Yeah, probably. He was criticizing that in the past, but he didn't say anything.
Oh, okay, yeah. At least they were. I think they were doing what we would say in the WE games as weight detection, as in they didn't fall down on the first one, did they? It took two of them because they're obviously lighter ladies. Then the Bunny used a kendo stick, which, to be fair, was it the kendo stick that Hikaru Shida brings to ringside? So it's like, you brought the weapon kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? So I can kind of see it from their perspective. She used the kendo stick on Tay Conti and quite an anticlimactic finish in pinning Tay Conti. Jack, give me a verdict on this match.
It was definitely one of the weaker women's matches we've seen on Dynamite recently.
It was, and I'd be tempted to give it my Screamer of the Week if it wasn't for the fact that if I look at this objectively, next to John Moxley versus Caesar Bang Bros, it's not worse than that, is it? It was.
No,
I think it was
not.
objectively a better match than that.
Definitely, and
Sorry, you lost me there with Caesar Bang Bros.
Yeah, I mean, it was what it was. I think they seem to be pushing the bunny recently, so I
At the
think
expense of Tay Conti, though, and I don't think that's the right call.
yeah. But you did mention obviously we saw a lot of Tay in this match, so I think it's kind of the cheap finish and still giving a lot of screen time to Tay in this match kind of bodes well for me. Obviously, Nyla doing what we kind of like and we applauded. Nyla for last week being that unique woman's presence, the big woman basically, and Shida there being the champ. So I think in terms of a lineup for a match, it was decent. Shame as decent a match, but I think the more people you have in the match, the harder it is for it to be a better match. If that makes, I mean, not as such, but because there's a lot of people try and impress you as an audience, it's always going to be a bit tricky, and you're always going to find the people that you didn't gel with as much. But overall, it was an okay match, not match of the night, but that being said, it was enjoyable.
Yeah, not too bad. It was fine, I would say. Although I will just play devil's advocate here and say, you say that they're making the best of both worlds by they're pushing the bunny while also letting Tay Conti showcase her kind of skills and like that's all well and good and that gets Tay Conti over the crowd, but let's say, has it been all that good for Cesaro in WWE for all these years? Because that's essentially what they've done with him. He's kind of never kind of broken through and got the kind of wins that he deserved, and obviously it's far too early in her run to say that Tay Conti's female Cesaro, AEW Cesaro. I'm not saying that at all, but I'm just saying like that's what can happen when you have a wrestler kind of show off their skills but still lose. You know what I mean? They get very over with a smarky crowd, but they're not getting what they there's at the end of the day there's still someone being pushed over them that's not as good as them, in this case the bunny. Although like I said, credit where credit's due, she took a lot of moves in this match. So Next up, we had a promo from Jurassic Express versus Bear Country for next week. This is you got thoughts on this, Jack?
What gave you the impression of that?
Well, I guess we know who we're coming to. This was a cross-promotional thing promoting Godzilla versus Kong, or Kong versus Godzilla. £16 on Amazon Prime to rent if you really want to see it that much. Jack, I can't imagine you've got any strong opinions on this, have you?
I just find it hilarious. We've come to a day and age where we are literally just having a match purely to promote a movie. Like, how has this happened? Like, they've even got obviously Jurassic Express to represent the Godzilla side and Bear Country to represent the King Kong side.
But it's not a bear, it's a monkey.
Exactly. I just find it hilarious how they've tried. You know what? Credit for trying.
Yeah,
when you get money to do something and you have to do it, they've tried.
they've thought this is what have we got that's close to Godzilla? Okay, dinosaur, fair enough. What have we got that's close to a monkey? Like that. And they've gone bears. Bears are kind of close to apes. So Bear Country.
Hilarious.
Yeah, there was a bit where they were kind of quibbling over, mammals and animals, and we don't like you animals. And then, Luchasaurus was reminding him, no, mammals. They're not, because he's a lizard. And then this was bizarre. Marco Stunt apparently has got. I don't think he actually has. That would be commitment.
He does.
He did.
No, he actually does. He's had it before this.
He had it before this, but
because I saw it on Sammy's vlog. That's his tattoo that he's had before. Obviously,
well, that's perfect then. He's got a King Kong tattoo or a gorilla tattoo, and they said, "Why have you got this?" And he said, "This was bizarre." He said, "I got it so I'd remember to beat Dad ass." I shouldn't have said that while you were taking a drink of water. What the fuck? Like, they could have thought of a better finishing line than that, couldn't they? But it was just odd. But do you know what? I actually don't think they necessarily do it so much for the money or because they need the money, this cross-promotional stuff. Obviously, that's a factor in it, and the stuff with the Go Big Show and stuff like that. But I honestly think part of it is Tony Khan thinking this makes us look legit. You know, this is a big movie, you know, a Godzilla movie. It's a big Hollywood movie. Being able to promote it, it makes us look like, you know, it's the kind of thing WWE might do. Do you know what I mean? So I think he thinks it makes us seem same thing as having Snoop Dogg or Mike Tyson or Shaq. You know, anyone who come, it makes them look big league. I think in his mind. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I suppose if they do get some money for promoting it, then happy days. A little bit of a bonus. But yeah, it is just from a viewer standpoint and a regular fan standpoint. You know, fans they've already won and they don't need to win more fans. It does just strike as a little odd.
I'm not hoping they will be promoting the new Space Jam movie because it's also from Warner. So Bugs Bunny versus LeBron James in the ring.
Can you imagine if they somehow like animated a match with
bunny?
Bugs Bunny?
The bunny can be
The
Bugs Bunny.
the bunny. Oh,
The
no.
bunny, of course, yes.
And then who would play LeBron? Shaq.
I was literally going to say get Shaq back, but I didn't know if that
Or
bordered
the
on
bunny,
racist.
the bunny against Lola Bunny in a match. Who's the real bunny? I don't know.
Oh, Patrick,
Loser
man.
leaves bunny match.
Oh, that's going to happen, isn't it? Well, from that we go to Miro and Kip Sabian versus Orange Cassidy and Chucky T. It's the match we've been waiting for. It's
Your main
Arcade
event
Anarchy,
of the
main event
evening.
of the evening. Patrick, straight up, just give me your thoughts on this one.
I don't want
On our
to
main
go
event.
too much into detail because I think you'll get the play-by-play, but it was
Yep.
really, really awesome from my
Was,
point of
wasn't it?
view. I really liked like everything that happened in it. I really hope that this is the finish to
it's gotta be, yeah.
feud at some point. I think it will be now more Miro against Kip, and hopefully the best friends in another way now having a bigger group now, as they're supposed to have now with one more member.
Because this felt
maybe.
like an ending, didn't it?
Yeah, it felt like an ending, definitely. But it also felt like a start, Chris Statlander versus Penelope Ford. But let's see how this is like, how Chris Statlander is also involved in a group or so. But like all in all, the setting was great. With the real arcades around it, I loved that. I also loved that they made this like arcade place feeling, that they had like the weapons for the match prices
On
hanging
a toy
certain
thing,
wall
yeah.
you can get. Yeah, right. You can get as like for that amount of tickets you got.
They do gimmick match as well, don't they, AEW?
Yeah, really good. They're really like also into the details. Then I think this is also why they give like the wrestler itself so much free space on building that up. I think that was a lot of that was made by maybe Miro, Kip, or like all of them together. Like they know how arcade looks, and they had really, really good arcade machines there, like Mortal Kombat 2 and stuff like that. That's really good.
Well, Mortal
stuff.
Kombat 2 specifically was very
Yeah.
light and easy to yeet, which I wasn't sure about. But anyway, I'll give you the play-by-play. So the first kind of notable spot for me was when Kip went through the back of the whack-a-mole machine. A moment when he's got a shot from the front, and then I can't remember who it was that threw him through. I have to imagine it was Chucky T, but like puts him through and he's just like motionless.
No, it was
after
OC.
coming-
It was OC.
It was OC, was it? After coming through the back of this machine, he was motionless. It was very funny. Lots of funny moments in this match, to be honest. But then they started, as you say, Patrick, taking down the prizes from the prize wall, like the trash can and the kendo stick, using them on each other. OC and Chucky T ended up piling weapons on Miro and going for the pin. Kip made the save. Actually, don't sleep on this bit. He dove through the space in the machine. I don't know whether it was the whack-a-mole machine, but he dove through the open space in the machine to make that save, and that was kind of a little bit underrated, to be fair. Like, credit where credit's due to Kip there. I haven't been his biggest fan, but even so. I think it was Chucky T went and grabbed the teddy bear from the prize wall, and there was a teddy bear chant. And obviously, I think we all probably thought it was going to be thumbtacks in here. It was Legos, which was so much worse. And when Chucky T came out, and I noticed he was wearing the kind of the spandex top, and not going shirtless like he does, I was like, okay, so he's going to take some sort of spot to the back that he's cushioning from, something like, I was thinking glass. I was thinking he was going to go into like a pinball machine or something like that, but I think it was this spot that he was wearing it for, where he kind of took a bump right on the Legos, which is just horrific. It's so much worse than thumbtacks because it's, they're blunter. They don't just go into the skin and that's that. There's resistance and it's, there's corners. It's, yeah. It was a nice little counter battle between Orange and Kip. Orange hits the beach break and the orange punch. Penelope broke that up, and then she went outside and was up against the grab machine, and that's when she's back. Chris Statlander appeared from within the grab machine. Great little thing there. Obviously, her and Penelope facing off, and there's going to be something come of that, and then. The even bigger return than Chris Statlander and even bigger return than Trent, who came with her, was the return of Sue. Woo! Woo, Sue! Sue in her minivan. Trent gets out, gives her a peck on the cheek. I knew this was going to happen at some point, but it was just so brilliant. And Trent makes his return. Miro at some one point goes to go after Sue, doesn't he? He had that kind of horror movie moment where he was approaching the car and she was helpless, but Trent thankfully appeared to save his mum.
But was she helpless? She just had to
She could have just revved the engine and mowed him down, couldn't she?
Yeah, right. She could just do a hit and run with him. That was way easier than just sitting there like
yeah, Sue doesn't think like that. She must be protected at all costs. She's a pacifist. Except when she flipped them the bird, didn't she? That one time, the Santana Ortiz. Trent ended up putting Miro through a table at one point, and that neutralized him. And Chuck, it was Chucky T got the pin. Did a running power slam on Kip off the stage, and Chucky got the win. And for me, it was fantastic match. But it was all about the end of the match, and it was standing victorious in the ring to "Where Is My Mind," their new music by the Pixies. There was Best Friends Reunited, giving the people what they want with a big hug, joined by Chris Statlander, and had a big four-way hug, and then all getting up, celebrating on the corners, and giving the thumbs up to Sue, who's giving a thumbs up back. And I had one of those moments where you're like, this is why I watch wrestling. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's all well and good rooting for heels because they're the good they're good wrestlers, we like, or even because they're good on the mic. Like, we like MJF. We love to hate MJF, but we recognize MJF's talent. Do you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, this is why I kind of root for faces, because, the good guy wins in the end, and you're supposed to support the good guy, and and this is one of those moments. This is that kind of feel good payoff moment to a feud, and a feud that hasn't been great, but I'm not just happy because it seems to be over. It's not just a relief element. It's they actually did end this very well, and with a really, really good classic wrestling moment that I was getting goosebumps, feeling a little emotional watching it. It was good stuff. Jack, did that resonate with you? And what were your thoughts on the match as a whole as well? Because we came to Patrick and come to you about it.
Yeah, not too much to add, because you obviously, when you do your play-by-play, you cover most of it. But no, really, really enjoyable match, very unique, and everyone knows on this podcast now I love a gimmick match. I just think they're class. I think this one was perfect as well. Wasn't too long. Felt like a perfect length. It didn't at any point feel boring or feel like this is run its course. Perfect. I love different elements of it. Only criticism I've got is Kip Sabian seems so out of place here. And I've got a semi weird feeling that Kip Sabian.
You got to yourself, Jack. You got a semi. You left too long of a pause after that. You're like, I've got a semi. Thanks, Jack. Thanks for the update. Go on. I've got a semi for Kip.
No, I feel like Kip Sabian's a bit of a pussy, because I think I saw him a couple times like a spot which looked like it was meant for Kip change so that Kip was the one that was least affected. The key one for me is when they were at the top of the ropes and it was Kip and Chucky T, and it looked like it was going to be Chucky T throwing Kip off so that Kip would be the one to land on Lego, and then I could see it then switch so that Kip was the one to throw Chucky T, so Chucky T got the main hit. And another one was at the start with the whack-a-mole, where I could see OC not really like hitting Kip Sabian too hard. So based on that
might
analysis
mess up his
alone,
hair. You know?
Yeah, true. Based on that analysis alone, Kip Sabian is not a future wrestler for Blood and Guts. So MJF, take him off your scouting. He's not gonna be up for it. He's not up for this sort of stuff. That's probably the most hardcore we'll ever see him. And I feel sorry for Kip Sabian because I feel like they've even tried to give him Miro to kind of boost his kind of presence in AEW, and he still feels like so inferior and not.
He's just black, and he's not a bad wrestler.
He's not. He's
not a bad wrestler at all. He's just no charisma. He's no real charisma. It's like Jake Hager. Jake Hager's not a bad wrestler. I don't think. I think he's. I mean, he's got that amateur background. I think he's quite good as far as power guys go. But Jake Hager, and I like Jake Hager-ish because of the Inner Circle, but Kip Sabian's got no kind of likable factions around him. Like, even Miro didn't, Miro, one other wrestler in a tag team with him isn't enough for me to suddenly like him. Do you know what I mean? Maybe part of a faction with its own identity would be, make me like, but, I just... It's just boring. Like, I don't, and he's like, I'd go as far as say he's not a bad wrestler. He's a good wrestler, but like I say, good wrestling can only get you so far. You have to have the it factor, which I just don't think he does.
No, and that's about it from me. I just wanted to point out Kip Sabian's fear of taking bumps.
Pussy. Okay, that brings us to the end of our Dynamite review. It's time to give out some ratings before we discuss next week and less important shows. Match of the night. Do I have to ask, Jack?
No.
Okay, Patrick, do I have to ask you?
Nope.
Nope, then it's unanimous. The match of the night is Nyla Rose and the Bunny versus... It's Arcade Anarchy, of course. We already had Patrick's heel moment of the week, so it's time for my scream of the week. This is the thing. This is a really hard one for me to do because there was no bad moments this week, and I think everything was sort of an improvement on last on. So even like things I'm tempted to give a negative to, like I'd be tempted to give a negative to the women's match, but objectively, it wasn't a worse match than the jobber match, but I can't give it to the jobber match, the Moxley job match, because it was a jobber match, and like you take these things into account. So it's a really hard one for me to give. So I think, and again, even the QT Marshall stuff, which isn't great, the QT Marshall Cody stuff, it's hard for me to give it to that because this is at least an improvement on what they've been doing with QT Marshall. This is better than it has been. It's a step in the right direction. I don't want to condemn that. So I think I'll give this week's shocker of the week to the Kong versus Godzilla cross promotion.
I agree.
I can't wait till you give it to next week now after that.
Be a lot of those sounds in Kong versus Godzilla. See it on Amazon Prime on whatever day. We actually haven't been paid to cross promote it. Don't worry about that. Jack's got a tattoo. Jack's got a Godzilla tattoo for it. Moving swiftly on to next week's card. So coming up next week, the Inner Circle will make a statement. We have a tag team match between Jurassic Express and Bear Country promoting, for some reason, King Kong versus Godzilla. AEW TNT Championship, the AEW TNT champion, that is, Darby Allin will defend against JD Drake. More on that in a minute, because that is batshit to me. We have a singles match, the Bunny with Matt Hardy and the Blade and the Butcher versus Tay Conti after this week's events with the Bunny cheating to get the pin. Tay Conti will be with the Dark Order, Evil Winners, Stu Grayson, Preston Vance, and -1 apparently will be at ringside. a 6-man tag team match in the main event, one would assume. Jon Moxley and the Young Bucks versus Kenny Omega with Don Callis and the Good Brothers. What are you looking forward to most, guys, and why is it not Darby Allin versus JD Drake?
I think it's bold of you to assume it's not Darby Allin versus JD Drake, to be fair. That just...
Fucking not, though. Is it? Is it?
It's not, no.
What's he done for that? Why is JD Drake? I don't think I've seen JD Drake wrestle on Dynamite yet.
They're only
he's gonna have a title shot.
Their only explanation was that it's an open challenge, and apparently JD Drake asked for it. That is the only reason why.
Why isn't someone like Ricky Starks asking for it? Why isn't someone like, I don't know? Surely the TNT title can't be that meaningless that nobody wants it except JD Drake, that you can't book anyone. No, just think of this in kayfabe for a second. Universe, like Darby Allin said, "I'm taking anyone who wants it. Contact me and I'll give you a match." Are we to assume that nobody better than JD Drake has gone? Yeah, I'll have that. And like, if so, what does that say about the TNT title? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page feel like they've been overlooked so much, like, why don't they? I mean, Scorpio Sky had a fucking massive Face of the Revolution ladder match to get a shot at the TNT title. And yet all you had to do was fucking JD Drake just to say, yeah, I'll and he just gets a match because Darby Allin just completely invalidated that match pretty much.
Absolutely.
But like, yeah, if they feel so overlooked, why not answer the challenge? And why is JD Drake the best we can have? Like, I'm not shitting on JD Drake, but like, I don't think he's had a match on Dynamite yet, has he?
Nah. But to answer your original question, match of the night, or one that I'm looking forward to the most, has to be Bucks versus Good Brothers and Kenny.
We usually, all three of us often seem to pick different ones when we talk about what we're most excited about, but I think it'll probably be unanimous this time. I am too most excited about, although I am excited to see Tay Conti in a singles match again, I will say, even though it's against the Bunny, I am excited to see that. But yeah, most excited about Mox and the Young Bucks versus Kenny and the Good Brothers. Patrick, can I safely assume you're excited about that match the most too?
Yeah, and also the match you mentioned with Tay Conti and the Bunny, although it's the Bunny in there, but it will be like a little more continuing of the storyline also there. Curious to see why -1 is also announced. Maybe he'll just be in the ring and just stand in front of the Bunny. Bad Bunny, you're a bad bunny. Maybe. I don't know.
Classic -1.
Yeah, but
we allow it.
Yeah, the main event is like, it will be like in the whole feud, or maybe in their friendship, another brick in the wall, to quote Pink Floyd. What will happen with them there, yeah. And also to see Matt's reaction to all that. Will he go completely ballistic or just stand there? And we have another Hello Darkness, my old friend moment where he's just hollow on the inside and just staring into the camera or into the off. We don't know.
I'd like to see some more Hangman Page talking about like people having crises. I haven't seen Hangman Page this week, and I don't know. I miss him. I miss Hangman. So that brings us to the last part of our show, which is less important shows.
Less important shows.
Got to start with the obvious. How beautiful, how majestic is it that they have modelled the new IWG GP World Heavyweight Championship on the shittest tattoo a wrestler has ever got. It looks like Cody's tattoo, doesn't it?
Oh, it's just an outrage. Definitely. It is an outrage.
That's mental.
Yeah, it looks like a transformer.
I don't know whose idea that was, but sack 'em.
It makes AEW's women's title look a work of art. Like up until now, that was it just seems like wrestling companies. I just didn't expect it from them, I will say, because they've also just brought out the New Japan Strong title, haven't they? And that looks miles better. I mean, it's like a bit of a kind of,
to be honest.
Yeah. It's a little bit of a, if we're nitpicking, it's a bit of a modern logo to be like 3D printed onto a, Impact kind of indentation printed onto a belt. It doesn't look too prestigious because of that, but it's indescribably better than what they've gone for as their main belt. In, you'd say that in terms of an in-ring product, like that commands the most respect from wrestling purists, and NJPW is unparalleled in the world. It's the most respected in-ring product in the world, and they're gonna, which makes the IWGP like arguably the most respected belt in the world, and it's the unified one as well. It's a step above that. It's to a lot of people this would be the biggest belt in the world, and they're gonna have it look like that. I mean, it's smaller as well, isn't it? Like, it just doesn't look grand. It doesn't look. It looks like Cody's terrible fucking neck tattoo. It's just,
honestly,
it's just
yeah.
Now the AEW title looks for me the best as the heavyweight titles in the world, because it looked a lot like the IWGP.
Yeah, well, the IWGP was the best. It absolutely was the best.
Yeah, definitely. And also, like, what I always liked, and I hope they will continue that, but just looking at the design, I don't see that yet, that they really had, like, plates on the side with the last champions. I don't know with all champions, if they had all 65 champions on that, but
look at you getting the
that's
number
really
exact.
Cool.
What? I said, look at you getting the exact number right.
That's actually the last thing I read, like, after 6
Nerd!
titles. That's why we're talking here, right?
Yeah, it's bad, but New Japan are kind of stubborn. I don't see them backtracking on this. I'd like to hope they will. I don't think they will. I think we're stuck with this, and it's fucking horrible. But I don't know. Maybe we'll get used to it. We haven't with Cody's neck tattoo yet. I don't know about you guys. I'm still not used to that shit. So maybe I won't get used to it. And we see it less
maybe
as well.
Maybe the baby comes out when the baby comes out. I'll say, Daddy, I'm not used to that either. So I don't know.
The baby will never know him without it, and yet she'll grow up and be like, that shit just looks
that's
wrong.
weird.
Yeah.
just imagine that. That's weird. Like when she sees the picture of him, like, is that really you before? Like, really?
It's the way it comes up behind his like chin bone. That's what's really weird about it. If it was just a little bit lower, maybe, and he had more neck tattoos, but it just doesn't look right.
That's also the point. It just feels misplaced completely.
What's been happening around the rest of the wrestling world, guys? I'm genuinely asking, because I've just been focusing on IWGP new shit title and the nice new title from New Japan. I don't know if it's been confirmed, but it seems like Daniel Bryan's been added into the main event of WrestleMania. Edge, Roman Reigns, Daniel Bryan triple threat. Doesn't bode well for Edge and Roman Reigns, does it? In terms of Daniel Bryan being shoehorned into a WrestleMania main event based on past experience.
Definitely.
I mean, I'm glad to see it, because that's who deserves it. But it just feels like the storyline hasn't been about him thus far, from what I've caught. Do you know what I mean? Might be the time that Roman Reigns, because Roman Reigns, I don't know, all the awards have been coming out recently, and probably, everyone looks at like the PWI and the Wrestling Observer newsletter, but the Smarkies from the Squared Circle subreddit came out. Their results came out recently, and most of the awards, I'd say about 90+% of the awards went to of the good awards, because they got the Smarkies and the Botchies. The majority went to AEW, but one of the 2 or 3 positive awards that WWE did win was Roman Reigns won Best Gimmick for Head of the Table, which has been a bit of a turnaround for his character, because Roman Reigns, especially after, thinking back to that stuff at Royal Rumble with The Rock, when The Rock, his shocked face about Roman being just absolutely booed out of the building when he was supposed to be face. It's been a bit of a turnaround for his character, this heel run. It's he's played it quite well. Again, credit where credit's due. So it kind of does feel like if this is a time for him, but they've only ever had a heel win at WrestleMania, maybe in the main event, like once or twice, and one of those times was Yokozuna, and they had Hulk Hogan return immediately afterwards and take the title off him. So I'm not sure. If it's the last match on, I'm not sure that will happen, but it could. It's Roman Reigns. They do love him over there, don't they?
Oh, but it has done wonders for a character, and I don't watch WWE, but I've heard good things about the Roman Reigns heel turn, which is, for Roman Reigns to hear good things is just surprising enough. But you know what? I mean, I usually only watch, obviously, AEW, Impact, New Japan, but it is WrestleMania, so maybe I'll put myself through that. I mean, might just select the few matches that I care about, though.
I mean, that's the way I'm going to watch it.
I think it's the way you got to do it.
Would you guys like to hear a couple of the results from the Smarkies? John Moxley won the best overall wrestler. In fact, well, I'll give you the top 5. John Moxley at first, Kenny Omega. They were the only two that got double digits. John Moxley got 27.1%. Kenny Omega, this is for 2020, by the way. Kenny Omega got 17.6. 17.6. There we go. That was what he got. Drew McIntyre was in at 3rd, then Roman Reigns at number 4, then Kota Ibushi at number 5, then Hangman Adam Page at number 6, which was who we gave the award to. In hindsight, we really overlooked John Moxley, but we did talk about this at the time, didn't we? That we just didn't feel like the matches he did have were all that exciting, like against Jake Hager and Lance Archer and stuff like that. Like, it didn't really feel like, to be honest, the year of Mox kind of really only picked up towards the end and spilled over into this year for me, with him appearing at Bloodsport and, back in New Japan and stuff like that. I feel like the beginning of this year has been more the year of Mox than last year has, but, I digress. The female wrestler of the year, this was amazing to me. Sasha Banks and Bayley tied for number 1 with 870 votes each. Exactly. So, and that's fair, to be honest, because like we've said, 2020 AEW women's wrestling, not that great. The highest scoring AEW talent was Thunder Rosa, who, she wasn't even fully contracted for a lot of 2020. So discounting her, she was at number 5, Hikaru Shida at number 6, after Sasha Banks, Bayley, Asuka, and Io Shirai. So tag team of the year, Kenny Omega and Hangman Page, then the Young Bucks, then the Golden Role Models, which I assume is Sasha Banks and Bayley, is it, Patrick? I've got no idea.
Maybe,
yeah.
Long pause for
the
maybe.
golden thing makes me think of do you remember when they had the Golden Lovers teamed up, like they combined it with the Elite and they had the Golden Elite? Kind of, have I really missed something? And there's a triple faction between Bayley, Britt Baker, and Kota Ibushi out there. Just
No. Golden Role Models is Bayley and Sasha.
Yeah, fair enough. And then FTR, which was ours 4th. But yeah, Tony Schiavone won non-wrestler of the year. Obviously, traditional wrestling match of the year was Revolution, Kenny Omega and Hangman Page. Obviously, the tag match. And the cinematic match of the year was the Elite and Matt Hardy versus Inner Circle Stadium Stampede.
Yeah, love that.
So yeah, there's a lot more.
I want to watch that again, actually.
AEW won event of the year for Brody Lee Celebration of Life, and Eddie Kingston as the breakout star. I think he won the Mike Skills as well. Hangman Page for best face, but Roman Reigns was best heel, as I say on there. So and he was also best gimmick, I believe. So
I'll have to check it out and see if it's worth it. Yeah,
we will. I mean, probably not. I'm not going to start watching it regularly just because they say my least favourite wrestler has had a bit of a turnaround. That would be a ridiculous reason to start watching it. From what I've seen, it's not. They're still not doing great. They had a really weird scene that I saw a scene of where Matt Riddle was talking to, or Riddle as he's just called now, was talking to Asuka backstage, and he didn't seem to realise they were live. And he I think they're trying to play on the whole thing that, Matt Riddle, if you don't know, I think he was kicked out of UFC because he didn't want to stop smoking weed. And he's got a magic mushroom tattoo on him somewhere, and he's big on his drugs. I think they're trying to play on that from WWE. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't watch it, so I can't, I won't say that with any authority, but I think they are trying to play into the, weed bro kind of thing with Matt Riddle. And I think they're trying to make him seem like a stoner, but he ended up just coming across as, what's the politically correct way to put this? Developmentally disabled, because he was he'd found a scooter in this scene, and he's talking to Asuka, and he's going, I found a scooter, bro. He's they'll love this in Japan, right? And I'm like, dude, this just seems like Matt Riddle's had a head injury or something. And then he just
it was really retarded. Sorry for the word, but
I don't have the siren. But he just scooted off I'm sorry, I don't know the line and stuff. just scared off, and then Asuka's just got like a really weird look on her face, like, what the fuck just happened? Do you realise we're live, you idiot? He just bailed on the segment like halfway through. It's like, but I mean, fuck it, I would, to be honest. But yeah, on that note, I think that's all the less important shows we've talked about. It's pleasure.
One we have to mention
again.
still.
Oh.
Sorry, one we have to mention
yeah.
because we're recording. Well, thanks to the technical issues on our usual recording day, we're recording a little later than the news bomb dropped, and it's that Chris Jericho will be at Stone Cold's Broken Skull sessions on the WWE Network, and it's also nice that already some background info got not leaked now, but got published through an interview that Stone Cold just wrote Vince McMahon. If he's cool with that, he's like, yeah, whatever. And then, are you really sure that it's okay that Chris Jericho shows up on the network? And he just got as a confirmed reply, just the thumbs up. So either Vince is...
I don't think Vince knows what's going on. No, like...
Yeah, and he doesn't know where Chris Jericho is right now because he said that once.
Yeah, exactly. This is completely consistent. Jericho told a story on his podcast, I think it was, where he talked about when he left WWE, and he went to Vince and said, Vince, I'm going to go to AEW. And Vince was like, it's fair enough. Thank you. Thanks. I respect your decision. Blah, 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 whatever. And then, and so he left and appeared at AEW. He signed for AEW. And then Vince calls him like a week or so after he debuted for AEW. He's like, Chris, I want you at the Royal Rumble or WrestleMania or wherever like that. And he's like, Vince, I can't. I've signed for AEW. He's like, oh, can you get out of it? He's like, I fucking told you I was signing for AEW. Can you get out of it and come? No, I can't fucking get out of it. I've just signed for your competitor. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, it just seems like that. Like it seems like, Stone Cold's text him, can Jericho be on? He's like, yeah, sure, why not? He's like not even registering what Jericho's doing. He's like, are you sure? He's like, yeah, sure. I feel like Vince, like a week or so after it's happened, when it's sunk in and people are telling him it's a big deal, maybe he'll get pissed off at that point because he just doesn't seem to kind of register what AEW is, and like it's mad to me. The dude's like in his own
also
little world.
Chris Jericho already called that on his Twitter, like the forbidden door has been opened again, or like wider open or something like this.
I mean, if Vince doesn't know what AEW is and doesn't really think there's a massive implication to kind of cross talent stuff, then we could kind of take advantage of this and actually get WWE stars coming over because in
the end they will get the viewers maybe from it, from people who are maybe pissed off from the product, and we're not really sure about AEW or so. So I'm curious to see how much he will also talk about AEW in the end.
I think he will, because Steve Austin
definitely.
If WWE's the law, Steve Austin's one of the few people that's above the law. Like, he doesn't give a shit. He'll talk about it. Do you know what I mean? I think he talked about TNA with AJ on AJ's one. And for the longest time, and still to this day, I think TNA and Impact are more verboten, as you would say, than AEW are, to be honest. I think Vince has got a real stick up his ass because I think he was more with it back then when TNA was about than he is now about AEW, more in touch with other products than he is now with AEW. So, part of me is like, what the fuck does Tony Khan get out of this? Because I don't think he's been promised anything from WWE, like any sort of talent share and thing. I think that's way, that's crazy speculation shit. I don't think we're going to suddenly see Seth Rollins surprise John Moxley on AEW, as batshit as that would be. However, I just think part of me thinks that Tony Khan is intimidated by Jericho's name value, and what I mean by that is he just lets him do whatever the fuck he wants. Because do you remember that Sturgis shit last year?
You see Luther, then I can only agree. Sorry.
Yeah, Luther, exactly. Bringing Luther in and getting Luther was in the main event of Jericho's anniversary celebrations. What was it, 25th anniversary celebrations? Because Jericho asked for it. There was the Sturgis motorcycle rally where Jericho, in the middle of like lockdown, performed to like fucking 60,000 people without masks and stuff, and like no distance with the crowd. He didn't suffer any kind of, despite how careful AEW and like pro COVID safety measures AEW are trying to appear, Jericho like suffered nothing from that. No suspension, no fines, nothing. I think Tony Khan was scared to do that, and I do think he's a little intimidated by Chris Jericho's name value, because he's like, holy fuck, we've got Chris Jericho. People know who Chris Jericho is. This makes us legit. Don't piss off Chris Jericho. So honestly, 50% of me think it's Jericho's just like, I'm doing this, and he's like, all right, can I do this, Tony? He's like, yeah, sure. Like, because don't say no to Chris Jericho. And the other part of me is thinking he also might, Tony being Tony and him booking as a fan and wanting wrestling to be as open as possible, is doing this for kind of in the hopes of future good faith from WWE. Do you know what I mean? He's like thinking this might pay off down the road. Like, we're not getting anything from WWE right now, but they might remember this in the future if, you know, things do open up a little bit more in terms of talent sharing and cross promotional stuff. So that's just my view on it. I don't know about you. I've rambled a bit there. So that brings us to the close of another week. We had some technical difficulties, but we've recorded it in 2 parts and we have got it done. That's the most important thing. Nice to chat with you boys again.
Yes, it's been a pleasure, and I told Patrick before you joined, Tom, I've got a new place that I'm going to be moving into, so hopefully...
I am you know, I am related to you, so I do see the stuff you post in our family chat.
But the fucking people on the podcast don't know that you know today, so that's what...
Kayfabe, keep it kayfabe.
I'm moving to a new flat, so Wi-Fi issues won't be as much of a problem in our podcast. I know the listeners won't care because they send, you know, we keep the good bits, but
because you're a hell of a producer and editor.
That's it. But but it'll make recording a lot more efficient, hopefully, and less stressful for us boys.
Right. Well, that's the end of our show. Patrick, give me something to sign off in German. I'm going to start doing that. I still haven't thought of a sign off. Let's make it in German this week.
Wiederschauen, reingehauen.
Wiederschauen, reingehauen.